Hey, it's LP3 Customs, and today I have 3 more custom minifigures to show off. All 3 of these are just DC Comics figures. They're not all from the same thing, just I made them each individually, and now that I have 3, I just decided I would do one video on them. So, the first one I made was the one on the left. That's Razer from Green Lantern, the animated series, but this is based off his version in Young Justice when he returned and became a fused red and blue lantern. In the middle is Batman from the animated movie Justice League Gods and Monsters, and then on the right is just a Speedy Roy Harper, like the classic version, and it's specifically based off season 1 of Young Justice. So let's get into each of the figures. So as I said, here's Razor. Originally I was just gonna make his Red Lantern version from the original animated series, because I've been rewatching it for like the 3rd time or whatever. So I was gonna make the red version, but then as I was watching Young Justice season 4, they brought him back, which was really exciting. And so at first in the episode he was a Blue Lantern, but then by the end he became like a blue and red. So I contemplated which of the 3 versions to make, but in the end I just decided to go with his newest version, which is a really cool design in my opinion. So here he is. I think it came out pretty well, not perfect, but in general I think it captures what he looks like in the show. So obviously he's half blue and half red. It's mostly just paint work throughout. I did a little bit of sculpting on the chest to get that armor look, because it's like a 3D armor. So I sculpted that on the front as well as the back, and then I just painted it all. Also, there's a little bit of sculpting on the arms by his shoulders, because he has like pointy shoulder pads, so I painted those on. I sculpted then painted them. It's mostly just paint work throughout, other than those few sculpted bits. His rings are just circular tiles with I could have painted the symbols onto them, but it really wouldn't have turned out that well, so I just decided to print them out on paper and just glue them on there. Same with his new symbol on the chest, which is a really cool design. It's a fuse of the blue and red symbols, so I could have tried painting it, but it wouldn't have come out well, so I just printed that and glued that on. The face, I did paint the whole face, and I really like the way that came out. He's got the blue eyes with like the black outlining, whatever it is, and then the marks, tattoo marks, I think those came out quite well. And then his hair is just I don't know what to call it, but it's this hairpiece, I'm sure you've seen it, and then just painted it white, because in Young Justice they revealed he has white hair, which is, I think it's based off some fan art, so that's cool that he has white hair, so I just painted that. In general, I think it came out pretty well, so let's move on to the next custom. So here's Kirk Langstrom Batman from the movie, as I said. The movie I really liked. It came out several years ago. It's pretty old at this point. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite DC animated movies, so I decided to make the Batman from it. And like as I said, this isn't Bruce Wayne Batman. This is actually Kirk Langstrom, who in the normal universe is actually Man-Bat. So this was a cool like alternate universe version. So like this one is mostly just paint. As you can see, the legs are pretty plain, just a little bit of white detail painted on the front and the hips. The torso is actually just like a Batman torso, and then I erased the symbol. I used it just so I could have the muscles and the abs. And then I just painted the white detail on the front along with the belt, and the belt wraps around the back. I really didn't paint much on the back just because I couldn't really get a good angle of his back. Plus, I didn't want to make it up, and so I just painted the white belt. And then his arms have some white bands around them by his wrist. His head, I actually just used the normal, like the normal Lego Batman head, not the 2012 versions. I use the ones that have like the printing's not that well, because it's printed onto a black head, so it comes out a little like paler, and so I decided to use that just because it really fits this Batman, because he's a vampire, so he's really pale in the face. So I thought that was a good use of that piece. And then his cowl is probably the most interesting bit about him, and that's actually from the Lego Batman movie minifigure series, and that's it came in 2 different figures. One was like shirtless with a dolphin. He had like this cow with goggles, so that's the one I think I used. So yeah, so like I said, it came with goggles on the piece already, and that's what this version of Batman's mask looks like. He has goggles on his eyes. So I used that, and but it had a band that wrapped all the way around, so I tried sanding that down. You can still see it a little bit, which probably doesn't look that good, but yeah, so I just sanded it down on the sides and sculpted his earpieces on each side, and obviously painted them black, and his eyes, I painted the goggles black and then painted his red eyes on there for like the lenses or whatever. And there's some gray lines on top of the cowl that I also painted. So in general, I really like the way this one came out. It's not the neatest, like, cleanest figure I've made, but I think it gets the design pretty accurately, so I like it. So let's move on to the last figure. So here's the last figure, and it's classic Speedy from Young Justice. I believe this is actually my 3rd Roy Harper custom, which I didn't really realize until I finished him. I guess I like the character more than I realized, so here's just the classic version, kind of from the comics, the early comics. So I just kind of wanted it to not necessarily go next to, but just kind of match my official Green Arrow from the Lego Batman movie sets, because that's my favorite Green Arrow figure. So I just thought the classic Speedy would look nice next to him. So this is the version I decided to make. It's based off Young Justice Season 1, as I said. So this one's mostly just paint. The legs had yellow boots painted onto the dark red legs. He's got some normal red painted on the waist and the upper legs. I think it's like a, I don't know, it's like a skirt type thing. It's not a skirt, but I think it's just an extended bit of his shirt. It goes down over his legs. So that's painted on there. I just gave him the Lego Batman movie utility belt, because that actually really matches what he looked like in that outfit. So that worked out well. I didn't have to paint it or anything. His torso was painted with the yellow strap going across his chest. He's got the dark red short sleeves and then the yellow gloves. The bow, it doesn't really match his bow from that suit, because that suit was just more of a classic bow and arrow. So, but this is more of like a, I don't know, more high-tech version, but it's the only one I had, so it's the one I painted up dark red with some black left on there. And then his head was painted, his face was painted, the mask and the mouth, which I think came out pretty well. Then his hat is the classic, I don't know what it's called, but yeah, it's like the Archer hat. I got it in the new minifigure series. There was one blue figure who had a blue hat, so I used that hat and then painted it yellow. And then the feather piece I painted red. And then I also decided to add a hair, so I cut off, like, sanded down a hair piece, and then so it looked like it's coming out of the hat, and then I glued that on there and painted it orange to match his hair color. And then I forgot to mention on the back is obviously his quiver with some arrows in it that I painted dark red, and then I had to attach it to a one by one plate piece that's dark red, and I just glued it on there. So that's about it. I think it came out pretty well. So that's it for all 3 of these figures. Yeah, so my next video will be probably towards the middle or the end of this summer, and it'll just be an update of my DC minifigures collection. There's been some updates, so look out for that, and I'll see you guys then. Bye.